Tommy isn't a musical, it's a collage. It's an album written by a man in his early 20s that is a form of self-expression about his childhood. Pete Townshend's writing about his own personal experience through the filter of a grand metaphor. Somehow that manages to be about all of us, about how every single one of us, our childhoods inform who we are. So much of the story for me is about how does the thing that made him who he is, that is incredibly damaging, also made him a star. Andy fundamentally understands what fame is about from his own experiences.
Our house was full of music, so there were always classic rock albums playing, soul records, folk, country, that kind of thing. And so the original album was an album that I grew up with, and I didn't actually become aware of it as a theater piece until much later.
I think what Andy brings is a simplicity and an innocence, but without being childlike. He's very straightforward in the way that he performs, and his Tommy is very clear and very charismatic, which he has to be, because he's the person who takes you on the journey.
If I'm thinking in my head that I'm like one of those horror stories you hear about where the anesthesia has kicked in just enough for a person in surgery to be paralyzed and numb, but not enough for them to not be conscious. The Tommy's in there, watching it all, he's seeing it all, he is taking it all in, but he has no control over it. The terror of that, and the isolation of that, and the sadness of that, I just try to think about that.
The fun that happens in the room right now is when other people are watching each other doing stuff, other people get to see each other play, because you rehearse it in fragments and then you put it all together. And the faces and the laughter and the applause that's happening, because people are doing extraordinary things on a vocal level, and they're also really good actors.
When Sam called me up and explained to me that he was taking it from the normal cast size down to 11 people, I knew that it was going to be a completely different structure, where you would put a dance number or you would put like a group thing. We don't have that group anymore, so I just knew that the movement quality was going to be a lot more human and a lot less dance focused. And the great thing about that is that I don't have to go away into a studio by myself and come up with steps. I can just kind of respond to the actor that I have and find their strengths and see where they want to move and where they want to turn and where they hear the music, and then I can kind of craft that into something that's choreographed.
Tommy, 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 can you hear me?
I think that no matter what experience you come into our production of Tommy with, whether you're a huge fan of the album or a huge fan of the Des McAnuff Broadway production, I think you're going to be incredibly surprised, and I hope pleasantly surprised.
This one is gargantuan in its own way, but also tiny. That's the challenge, is making an intimate version that's also huge.
The piece is so good, and the story is so strong, and the music is so incredible that it's just about how somebody decides to tell that story. I think it's gonna blow people's minds, not in the way that Des's version was huge and loud and shiny and amazing. I think we're doing the opposite to a certain extent, where we're asking you to like zone in on the story, but still giving the payoff.
It's a rock show. I mean, it's rock and roll, and it goes up to 11.